All right, good evening, everybody, and welcome to another episode of vBrownBag. Tonight, we are all going to get rich and retire early and buy a island in the Caymans and leave the States and work on our tans. That's our goal for this evening. We have AWS Hero Brian Tarbox with us tonight, and he's going to talk about adding in-skill purchasing to your Alexa skill. Brian is one of the few people that I know that actually has the Alexa certification. Before have they stopped it now? Did they squash it?
Yeah, they stopped it about a year ago now.
Okay, well, you are one of the few people I know that actually has the Alexa skill. So obviously you know what you're talking about here. But before we get into that, let's do some housekeeping notes. Get in on the conversation. If you are in the studio audience, I will be paying attention to the Q&A forum and the chat channel to make sure that Brian gets all of your questions about how to retire early. And I'm saying that semi-facetiously. I have a lot of questions about that. And if you are on Twitter, if you @ vBrownBag or hashtag vBrownBag, I will be paying attention and we'll get some of your questions answered. If you are on Twitter, then you can follow Brian Tarbox @ btarbox. Him and all of the rest of the AWS heroes are on there, tweeting profusely. You not so much. You're fairly quiet on the tweetosphere.
Yeah, no, tweet. I just remember when Twitter started and everyone was like, I'm getting in my car to go to the grocery store. Hey, I've gone to the grocery store. Hey, I've put eggs in my shopping cart. And I'm like, hey, I don't care.
See, it's evolved way past that since then. Now we just scream at each other until we're red in the face. It's much more fun. And if you are also on Twitter, you can follow me. I highly discourage you from doing that, but if you are a glutton for punishment, you can find me @ Mistwire. So with that, Mr. Tarbox, why don't I rescind the power over to you and we'll get this little conversation going.
Okay,
so how you been?
And I've been okay. And as I say to my teenage son, instead of Twitter, you can find me on Snapagram or InstaChat.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
This is where are you the guy that wears the black socks with the sandals? Are we all going to roll our eyes here?
What are socks? There are no socks. Even last year at reInvent, there were very few socks. I'm disappointed. And the thing is, since you have your little kitty Beep with you, I generally have my little dog who sleeps on my feet, and she much prefers it if I have bare feet, so she can lick my feet while I'm coding.
Oh, you know what I should do? I should totally put Beep on as a host. I'll get a good picture of Beep and put her in as the host profile.
Absolutely.
Fantastic idea. All right, share that screen.
Okay, yes. Let's see if this will work. It's multiple screens are always interesting.
Making money with Alexa is what I see.
Yes. And the subtitle is an exercise in realistic expectations. So let me so sometimes it gets weird if I, so let's play. Can you still see it?
Yes, it is blown up now.
Okay, awesome. Okay, cool. This is my my branding page. I am Wabi Sabi Software, and if you don't know about Wabi Sabi, it's a Japanese aesthetic of change and impermanence, and never quite being done, which seems a wonderful symbol of software. And I'm a community hero. I've certs. I lead the user group. Blah blah blah. I used to play with dolphins. I've won a few awards, and I've contributed to APL Ninja. And APL is the Alexa programming language, and it's almost as weird as the old APL. And although I'm not much on Twitter, I do like QR codes. So if you want to run the skill that I'm going to be talking about, you can click on this. I have a website, and then I can't even tell which one this is. Oh, that's my LinkedIn. So let's see. Okay. So actually, before we jump into that, I just want to say, so I've been writing Alexa skills for about 5 years now. The system has evolved tremendously in that time. My first skill was a skill to help parents, mostly me, deal with kids asking for more screen time. And you could input a list of chores, and the kid would say, I want more screen time. And the skill would say, have you, brushed your teeth? Have you done the dishes? And if they said yes, it would say you can have more screen time. And if no, it would say, no, you can't. And my son said, Dad, does your, and I say Amanda, so I don't trigger it, but actually let me turn it off.
Yeah, you're going to be saying Alexa a lot this presentation,
right,
so you might as well kill
right,
it.
Right. So my son said, Dad, does Alexa talk to the Xbox? And I said, yes, it does. And he was young enough to believe that. But anyway, mostly I've been working on a skill called Premier League. In this house, we are crazy fans of British football. We don't say that soccer word in this household. And so I started writing Premier League just for myself. I wanted to know how the teams were doing. I wanted to know fixtures, results, and so on. And then I started adding more and more features. It eventually got kind of popular. I will say in the last 14 months, I've had over 1 million interactions of customers with my skill.
And an interaction with a skill is them making it do something, or is it them turning it on?
Let me go to the next slide and I'll show you. So,
okay, cool.
Okay, so it's funny. There are lots and lots of devices. They started with these. Well, they started with the big Echo, and then they switched to these little hockey pucks, and now and these are dots, and now they've become round, and then they've added screen devices and all kind of manners of things. But this is sort of the generic. So a user says something to the device. Now we'll have the obligatory, hey, is Alexa listening to me all the time? And isn't that creepy? And it's like, if you have one of these, you have abandoned all notion of privacy, so get over it. The device is listening all the time, but it's listening for the wake word. And so you say, Alexa, we say Amanda in this house because we don't want to trigger the devices. So I'm going to try to say Amanda. You say Amanda, it listens. Then you say things like, how is Liverpool doing?
I pronounced that Amanda. But I'm looking at
Sorry, I've got one more device.
Oh boy.
Okay. So you say, how is Liverpool doing? That goes to the voice service. The voice service does natural language processing and goes to your Alexa skill. And your skill is made up of intentions. So like my skill, the intentions are things like, tell me about a team. Tell me about referees. Tell me who has the most goals. And the natural language processing figures out what you probably meant, what your intention was, and then sends it to your backend Lambda. Your Lambda does whatever it does to come up with a response. Basically, it comes up with a string to say, says it back to the voice service, which says and sends it back to the device, which speaks it back to you. Hopefully all of that happening within about 200 milliseconds. Many skills are what's called one-shots. So you say, Alexa, what's the weather? It tells you the weather and you're done. That would be an interaction. In my skill, there's questions and answers. So you could say, Alexa, how's Liverpool doing? And they did great today, by the way. But you can then also say, oh, and how did Arsenal do? And who has the most fouls? And each one of those round trips is an interaction. So you can think of it as in the last 15 months, I've had 1 million or slightly over 1 million questions and answers happen between people around the world in my skill. So a fair number. Okay. So let's get on to making money. And there are, this is an evolving space, but there are basically 4 ways, actually 3 now, to make money. You can have developer engagement rewards. And that was mostly how I made my money, which Amazon has a super secret, nobody knows what it is formula to figure out which skills are high engagement. And if you're high engagement, they send you a check. And until recently, I was getting, like 300 a month, which is, not to retire on, but it's also not zero. I mean, that could be a car payment, I suppose, for the kind of car that I buy. But they recently kind of killed that program. So I went from getting 300 to 0. So, and what they basically said was they want you to do, to sell stuff instead. Now, another way you can make money is you can have a paid skill. Most skills are free, and until now, all skills have been free. You didn't have to do anything but enable them. But you can now have a skill where you actually have to buy the skill. And so you have to pay to get the right to use the skill at all. And that's kind of tricky because you're asking someone to believe that your skill has value before they've actually gotten to see it. This is probably going to be mostly the big companies. You might, if you own a Tesla, you might get the Tesla skill because, why not? Because it's the Tesla skill. The third way is you can actually sell Amazon products for your skill. So my skill is about, football or soccer. So I could offer you the ability to buy a soccer ball through Amazon through my skill, and I would get some small cut of that. And I don't know anyone who's done that, but you certainly could. The other approach, and the approach we're going to talk about today, is in-skill purchasing. So you have a skill, and there are various ways that you can ask people to give you money in the skill. Now, I will say one really nice thing for you as the developer is you don't have to do anything in terms of the money itself. So if Chris were to buy something from my skill, it would be charged to his Amazon account, and then it would be paid into my Amazon account. And so there's no credit cards, there's no security codes, there's nothing. It just happens. So that's a pretty cool thing about it. So we're going to talk about in-skill purchasing, and there's a couple different models.
Okay, before we jump into that, real quick question from the audience.
Yep.
The intentions, is there a big state table and the intention? How does what directs the intention after it's instantiated?
Okay. I can actually switch the share and show you the code for that, because that might be actually the easiest thing to do.
Well, I don't want to derail your presentation, but it was a quick question, and if you easily have the
We'll
answer,
get to it.
But okay, cool.
We can get to it. But I'll say in general, you say you specify an intention like who is the top scorer, and then you list a bunch of ways the person could say it, because the person might say who has scored the most goals, or who's the top goal scorer, or who's the league's best goal scorer, or who is probably going to win the golden boot, which is the award for most goals. And so you list a bunch of exemplars. You hand that off to Amazon, and they do their magic natural language processing. And then, somebody says, Premier League, I'm kind of wondering about goals, and it will figure out, they're probably talking about goals. And then it will call your goal handler, and you will figure out who has the most goals and send it back. So there's a whole there's sort of an art to coming up with the intentions.
Gotcha.
So like as an example, and I'll just say soccer for convenience. In soccer, you can get, the referee can give you a yellow card or can give you a red card, and you can ask about yellow cards or red cards. And at one point I said, what about cards? And I was really curious to see what it would do. And it jumped me into a poker skill. So random things can happen.
Gotcha.
So voice design is a whole thing. I mean, it's a whole thing. And that might be an interesting discussion too, but I'll keep going with this for the moment. So there's 3 types of in-skill purchases you can do. You can do a subscription, and a subscription is like, I want advanced features in the newspaper, and you get it every day or every week, for a certain amount of time. You can have a one-time purchase, and the usual example for that is, well, I want to, have the next level of Arizona Sunshine, and you just buy it. And then there's also consumables, and one of my friends actually wrote a lunar lander game that was all voice driven, which was kind of cool. And you had a certain amount of fuel, but if you were about to crash, it would say, for 99 cents, you can get some more fuel.
Oh, that's so sneaky. Right.
And I did that, and for a while I had the top score in his game. So these are the three ways, and you have to think about how you might do that. Some essentially caveats. So in-skill purchasing isn't available everywhere in every language. And I was going to show you the chart, but it changes all the time. I know right now, like I don't think you can buy in Canada, which is weird. And you can't buy in Spanish Mexico, but English Mexico you can, or something. But it's changing all the time. So if you are targeting a particular region, like I know India doesn't support it yet. If you're targeting a particular region, you have to pay attention to that. And the other thing is that it's not just that you can't purchase your item, say in India, but if your skill relies upon that, you have to think that through. Like if you give an intro level and then most of the levels are purchasable, well, it doesn't make any sense to deliver that in a country where they can't purchase more levels, probably. So there's that. The least that you can charge for anything is 99 cents or 99 pence, or sort of equivalent amounts of various currencies. You can charge up to just under $100. And I have a friend who did that and has actually made a lot of money. We were actually talking about this earlier today, Chris. This is a person who has a skill that lets Alexa hypnotize you for things like weight loss or smoking cigarettes. And anybody who lets Alexa hypnotize them, yeah, that ain't happening to this.
He's got $100 consumable in his Alexa hypnosis app.
Yeah.
Huh. Okay.
But well, it's not consumables can only be $9.99, but like subscriptions and level enablement.
I see. Gotcha. Okay.
Okay. And you get 80% of the sale. Amazon gets the other 20%. It used to be 70-30, and part of the softening of not giving us developer rewards anymore is they said, well, we give you a higher cut of the purchase rewards. And it's like, okay, but that means you're asking us to put things behind a firewall. So I will say I'm ambivalent about the whole notion of in-skill purchasing. So like in my particular Premier League skill, I have advanced features. I kind of want everyone to have them, but so just to learn ISP, I put them behind a paywall. The other thing is you are not allowed to mention the price because Amazon has the right to give discounts if they want to. So like you might get a discount for being a Prime member. Now they say that if, so they might only charge you 50 cents, but they do say that if they charge you 50 cents, I still get the 80 cents and they just take it as a loss. So, but you're not allowed to mention the price. And I'll say when you create a skill, you have to go through this whole certification process, and certification for in-skill purchasing is intense. So, and I've seen a bunch of stuff in chat. I'm assuming you've got that all under control.
I do, yes. People are saying that they're going to create a hypnosis app to hypnotize people into bringing up consumable prices to the hypnotized person. So already we've got some very, very shifty dealers writing up Alexa skills in the audience. Okay,
awesome. So now here are some design decisions. So although Alexa was originally just the audio, and we have learned all about audio design skills. And I will say just as an example of an audio skill or how it's different. My Premier League skill is able to answer, I think, like 17 different questions. How are you, the user, going to know what questions you can ask? I can't just read you a list. If it was visual, I could give you a drop-down or something. But there's a whole notion of progressive disclosure that you have to do. But we shifted to this whole progressive disclosure and audio only, but then they came out with screen devices. And screen devices are interesting. So if your skill is multimodal, so it works on devices with and without screens, you have to wonder, are your products mode specific? So my product, as it turns out, is only available on the screen devices. So I have to pay attention to that. Then there are, you have to think of a skill as kind of like a game, and that you tend to storyboard the interactions. And it's like, when should I do, not an upsell, when should I do an upsell? That the second bullet, this shouldn't be an upset. Is when should I do an upsell? When should I suggest to you that you buy something? And how much should I charge? And then the really interesting thing is my skill engaging enough in its basic form that someone would say, hey, I want more. And 99 cents is a pretty low bar, but you have to get the users before you can, you have to hook them before you can reel them in.
So this sounds a lot like how game developers are creating freemium models for phone games and things of that matter. So how much game design and game theory is involved in the creation of I'm going to call it a freemium Alexa app, an app where you do have not in game, but in Alexa skill purchasing?
It's very much like a game, and it is freemium. I mean, that's exactly what you're going for. So in my skill, which we'll see in just a little bit, in the visual version, I show you who won, who lost. I can tell you which referees had the most red cards and yellow cards and so on. And then I have some analytics, but then I have advanced analytics. And the advanced analytics are actually quite cool. It's like, what, for all the teams in the league, what percentage of their stadiums do they sell out? Which is kind of interesting. And what's the average age of the players on each of the teams? And that's, if you're really into the game,
those are things you want to know.
Right. And there are things that it's very hard to do, in a spoken version. Arsenal sold out 23.2% of their stadium. Liverpool sold out 84. You can't do it. You have to do it graphically.
Yeah, that makes sense. So effectively, you're giving them the front of the baseball card for free, but if they want to look at the back for the cool nerd stats, you got to pay more.
Right. That's a great way to look at it. Oh, I'm gonna use that. Okay. Please do. So let's go through. So I think this is almost the last slide. I'm going to show you that I'm going to tell you what we're then going to demo.
Cool.
And it's so you create a product that you're going to sell. And I do this in the console because I started doing Alexa skills back when there wasn't a command line. And, so I've stayed with the console. There's this wonderful command line and I just haven't gotten to it. You then link the product to your skill. You then add a series of required voice commands. So there's a set of commands you're required to implement. Things like, what have I purchased? What can I purchase? I want a refund. So you have to add those voice commands. And then you have to add the backend support that handles them. And then just like the underpants gnomes, profit. And I'll go to the demo in one sec, but this is the if you're really excited about this, don't look at this next slide because this is sort of the sad reality. So, I've had 91,000 customers, I've had 1 million utterances, and I've had 1 sale. So
the sell is the upsell, right? Not one person has decided to look at the back of the baseball card.
Has purchased it.
Gotcha. Okay.
So yes, profit, yay. So I'm going to get. So someday I'm going to get 80% of that 99 cents, and then I'll have to pay. And then I'll have to pay taxes on it. So I'm going to switch the share. So let me jump back to. I'm going to put that away. And this would be a good time, Chris, for you to rip for just like 30 seconds or so.
Little jazz hands, little thing. So I'm taking some notes here. So create a product, link to the skill, add your required voice commands, add backend support, sell underpants,
right?
And profit.
Right. So let me actually show you the skill because that's probably the best way to start something. And I'm going to show you in the simulator because it's a lot easier to show you in the simulator, which will make more sense if I'm actually screen sharing, than to go to an actual device. Okay, so, and are you seeing this?
Yes, we can see skill
Okay.
IO.
Okay, right. So, and I'm going to, I'm going to switch the audio so you can hear, hold on a sec. Sorry.
This is what happens when you get a live demo. All the things break. You have muted yourself, Brian.
Okay. I want you to hear the what the skill says. Okay.
Welcome to Premier League. The last result was Arsenal lost to Liverpool 2-0, and the next match is today. Everton versus Newcastle at 15:45. Press a button or scroll to see more options. So could you hear that?
Yes.
Okay. Oh, and I didn't hit the share. Okay. Now you can see it. Okay. So this is just this is sort of log type stuff, but this is what you would actually see on the screen. And so you can do things like I can say, look at the table.
Here is the table. Press back to return.
And and you'll notice I had background crowd noise to make it seem like you're at the game. And some people have said, Brian, the background crowd noise is so loud I can't hear them. So it's like, yeah, just like the game. So I have.
Welcome to Premier League. Press a button or scroll to see more options.
So I have basic charts.
Here are some charts.
And you can look at things.
Here are the goal differences. Press back to return.
You can look at the goal differences, which are really quite interesting. And it really stands out that Burnley down here, their goal difference isn't too terrible, even though they're second worst team in the league. Okay. And
Here
you know,
are some charts.
and
Team points by week.
this is
Say add or remove team.
this is my favorite one. It shows you over time how many points each team has accumulated. And you can look at the top of the table. You can look at
Team points by week. Say add or remove team.
you can look at the bottom, or you can look at the bunch of
Team
them.
points by week.
And
Say add or remove team.
if you are into this sport, you can look at this chart for a long, long time. Okay, but those are sort of the basic charts. So let's go
Here are
to
some charts.
let's go to advanced charts.
Welcome to Premier League. Press a button or scroll to see more options.
And you can see by that this has color to it that I've already purchased this. So I'm going to go in
Here are some advanced charts.
and I can look at things like
Here are team goals. Press back to return.
this is how many goals the team score from inside the 18-yard box versus outside. And again, if you don't care about soccer, you know, this would be like golf stats. But if you do care, it's really, really interesting. But this is because I've purchased it.
Here are some advanced charts.
So now let's
Welcome
do
to
this.
Premier League.
I'm going to
Press
say
a button or scroll to see more options.
I'm going to say refund.
Okay. As a reminder, advanced analytics are half a dozen extra charts. Are you sure you want to cancel your subscription?
And now, and this is an intention. This is my skill will get a confirmation. It's a refund confirmation, and I can say yes or no. And in this case, I'm going to say yes. I do want to. Cancel.
Okay, I've canceled advanced analytic charts, and you'll no longer be charged. You can continue to use it until the end of this subscription period. You
So-
have successfully canceled your subscription. What can we tell you about Premier League?
So I can still use it, and a subscription is a year. One of the sort of limitations is the subscriptions are either a month or a year. We're going to try to get more. So let me go back. Let me restart the skill just so I get a new session. And now, because this is in the developer console, it will look to see whether I have the purchase or not.
Welcome to Premier League. Now available in Spanish. Press a button or scroll to see more options.
Oh, I forgot to change something. So this demo is, okay, pretend that this is grayed out and I can't click it.
Wow, it's grayed out. I can't click it.
Right. So now I could say, what have I purchased?
You have no purchases. Stay purchased advanced for a 7-day trial. What can we tell you about Premier League?
So you can see that there's a whole interaction. And let me just show you the code because it wouldn't be geeky enough without code, right? So what I can do is go here and I'm going to show you the voice model. So we have interaction model and we have, this skill has 32 intentions. It's things like cancel, help, fixtures, fouls, and so on. And we'll go to more. And then there are intentions like, what did I buy? I want a refund. I want to buy something. What can I buy? So if I look here, what can I buy? Here are 4 different ways I might say that. I can do, more and more. And there are places where you have to be careful because if I say, what have I purchased? Does that mean what did I purchase or what can I purchase? I mean, there are gray areas because English is a weird language. So for each of the intents, you come up with these exemplars. What did I buy? What subscription do I have? What have I purchased? What did I buy? There's all different ones. And my skill has subscriptions, so my exemplars are subscription based. If they were consumables, there would be different things. So like if I purchased, 100 health points, I might, I should be able to say, how many health points do I have left, before that I haven't purchased yet. Okay, then you build all these, and then let's look at the actual code. And so down here,
as you're doing that, I just want to pop through a couple of questions real fast.
sure. Yeah.
Can you measure your engagement by country?
That is a great question. And the answer is no, but. So let me go to my dashboard. Alexa has some analytics that they provide out of the box. But whenever we say, hey, it'd be great to have better analytics, they say, yes, you should go write some. I've written this dashboard that is being weird on me. Because I'm in the well, this gives you an example. I'm in the developer version, and so I'm seeing the dashboard for the development version. But so there's just me traffic. But this is, I can see how many invocations were done on a device with and without a screen over a different time period, what my percentages of screen device. This is US invocations, this is UK invocations. One of the tricks with having an international skill, if your skill is international, not all of them are, is that the speed of light is finite. So if someone, mostly the lambdas are, generally we write the lambdas in US East. But if you're someone in Dublin, it takes time for the signal to go from, Dublin to New York and back again. And so you can put in, a copy of your lambda over there, and you can use CloudFront to cache your big files. And I've actually used, like those sound files, those don't change and they're quite large. So I use CloudFront, a distribution, so that the sound files are available, all around the world. There are data files that do change a lot, but I've set up S3 replication. So I upload my data files in US East, and it automatically replicates to Dublin. So I get a much better response experience. Here I look at all the different buttons that are being used. Here I'm looking at durations of how long things ran for. And then here I have a fairly extensive breakdown of, how many people are using, in England are using a dot, and how many are using a show. And then the same for US. And then I have a Spanish version of the skill too. And this is really interesting. I've got 11,000 users of Spanish screen devices and only 270 users of the top. That's weird. So you can get all kinds of data. And then over here, I did, I think, a kind of interesting thing, which is in terms of engagement. If you're using an audio skill, it takes 15 seconds or so to say, yeah, Liverpool won their last game. And that's interesting, but you might spend 2 minutes looking at some of those graphs. And although it's still just one invocation, 2 minutes is probably shows more interest in the skill than 15 seconds. And so I measure how much time people have spent, how many minutes people have spent in the skill. And this is telling me that, the skill has been open for 79,000 minutes over whatever time period this graph is for, which is quite a lot. So the short answer is, out of the box, they give you some metrics, but mostly you have to roll your own. So, was there another question?
Yes. Do you need different intents for different languages?
Oh, yeah. Great question. So, yeah. So right here, you see that I have English as my model, let's go to Spanish in Spain. And now let's look at, and I actually don't have purchasing, I don't have in-skills purchasing there, but let's look at referees for referee intents.
Mhm.
And I'm going to butcher this Spanish because I don't speak Spanish, but arbitros, which is referee, and lista de arbitros. You know, so you have to. I actually hired someone to come up with the Spanish version of many of the things because sports is idiomatic. Is that I said that right? Lots of idioms. So like in soccer, if the goalie doesn't let any goals, that's called a clean sheet. And the first time I translated it to Spanish, it said, which goalkeepers do the best laundry?
Huh. That's the wrong intention.
Right. So it's multi-language is a whole thing.
Yeah.
And there's also, I mean, while we're on that, one of the things you can do to make your skill more interesting is to add emotionality to it. So depending on how people are doing in the table, the skill responds with excitement or lack of excitement. So let me, well, I'll just tell you because I want to not take too much time. But if you say, how did Liverpool do? It said, Liverpool has 32 wins and 3 losses for 84 points and is the second place. And then if you ask for Norwich City, it says, Norwich City has 2 wins, 22 losses, and is in 20th place. It's very Eeyore. So you can modulate the emotionality and the pitch, and that's really very engaging.
Cool.
So I'll just come back to the code. So here you have your session builder, this SB variable, and then I've added all these things of request handler. So I have the goal handler and the touch handler, you know, and so on. And then there's, you know, down at the bottom, I have, you know, the what did I buy handler and so on. And the documentation for this is not awesome. After the show, Chris, I'll send you the link to a sample.
Okay.
But that's really the only way to do it. So, you know, here's my in-skill purchasing, you know, Python. So it's like, you know, this is, and one of the tricks with the in-skill purchasing stuff is, in this case, Alexa has to know who's making the request. Usually, you know, anybody can ask who has the most goals. But if you're going to do in-skill purchasing, I need to know who's asking so I can tell whether they have bought the advanced feature or not, which makes those calls a little bit slower, just fair warning. So it's like, hey, does this skill have any products? Make a list of them that you can save. You know, because you have to build that. And, you know, hey, this skill does have products, you know, and, you know, get a list of all the entitled products and then return which ones you actually are entitled for. And so each of these little functions, and the nice thing is when you're writing Alexa, at least in Python, I tried Node and it just made my head hurt. Sorry for Node people, but your callback promise approach is insane. Sorry. It's wonderful, but I hate it. But in Python, the functions are very small, you know, and so you know, you can buy a product. And when somebody says they want to buy a product, you send a directive back to Alexa that says, hey, somebody wanted to buy a product. And that's when they present you with that thing of saying, okay, that'll be, you know, you have a 7-day trial period. Would you like to, you know, proceed? And then it will then call back to you with the buy response. And there's lots of cases They could say, sure, I want to. They could say, no, I don't want to. They could say, I'm going to give you a completely random response that makes no sense. Or, for some reason their account might not have any money in it. And so you have to handle all kinds of things. But the whole in-skill, my whole in-skill, purchasing module, 271 lines of Python. It took me a long time to write those, but there's not a lot of volume to it. So I would say copy somebody else's code because you don't want to try to figure this out yourself. And that's kind of it. So it's
Okay.
figuring out what makes sense. And I'm hoping in oh, and I don't want to be in Spanish. Sorry, this one's sick. I'm hoping that conceptually I'm hoping that conceptually that my skill is interesting enough that someone might want the advanced skills. But to be brutally honest, I'm ambivalent about the freemium model. So having learned how to do this and having gone through the certification, I've actually made all my content free. So, because I'm just, I don't know, I want it to be free.
Gotcha. A couple of follow-up questions.
Sure.
All right. Since this is an interesting one. The cost, the compute cost. Since you're doing an Alexa skill, does the compute storage become free, or do you have to pay for it out of your earnings from the skills, from the purchases?
Okay. I will say that in the 5 years I've been writing Lambda skills, I've never paid one single penny. Your first 1 million invocations a month are free.
Gotcha. Okay.
And if you get a skill certified, Amazon will give you $100 credit a month. So you should never, pay
$100 credit, but not $100.
Right. And,
Gotcha.
And the thing is, some skills. So my skill basically just gets its data from data files I put on S3. Other skills will go straight websites, called Dynamo, do all manner of crazy things. And you could incur costs there.
Gotcha. Okay. This follow-up question goes back to the excitement modulation that you said. Is customer sentiment / excitement actionable as a part of an intent?
I don't quite understand.
Alberto, if you could qualify that question, are you trying to say that if the type of intent comes across, then you can modulate the excitement, or what is it that you're trying to get at? And while he is answering that, let me see if there's any other additional questions. German would be really difficult. Yes, that is true.
I can rip on one, which is that one of the things I've struggled with is humor, because people take British football incredibly seriously, and so it's been suggested to me that if someone says, "How did Norwich do?" I might sometimes say, "Are you sure you want me to tell you?"
Yeah, that might piss off some people.
Right. The other thing is, in British football, rivalries are incredibly strong. So like today, Liverpool won, and more importantly, Arsenal lost, because in our house we hate Arsenal for reasons that escape me. But I've toyed with the notion of letting you specify that a team that you like and a team that you hate. So you might say, Liverpool won or Liverpool lost. But you might also say, Arsenal lost, Arsenal won.
Gotcha.
But that's, and I suppose I could do that. That just takes a little bit more work.
Okay, so Alberto qualified the question, was thinking along the lines of measuring customer excitement beyond the words spoken. For example, for a chance to upsell or avoid if they sound peeved. So if the customer gets excited, can the skill pick up on that, or can they measure their tones? Services like recognition have some kind of metrics that about facial expression. Curious if there is a similar construct for audio.
Sadly, Amazon absolutely will not give us any of that information whatsoever.
Your mic is very faint. Can you like lean forward towards the microphone?
Sure. Amazon won't tell us anything about that. So in fact, we have no access to what they actually said. So I get told goal intention. I have no idea what they said to lead to goal intention. And Amazon has said that they will never, ever, ever give us that for privacy. Now, could they in fact give us clues? Sure. And you could try to do your own sort of analysis. So, I mean, one of the things that we've wondered about with Alexa in general is, it's wonderful except when it's just freaking infuriating. When you say, play Sultans of Swing. No, I didn't mean swing dancing. I meant play Sultans of Swing. And when you go over and over and over again, clearly you're getting annoyed. And so the system ought to be able to notice that. But as a skill writer, I don't have any access to that. I could certainly infer if they kept saying, stop or something, that they're annoyed about something. But that's sort of the next level of understanding of this.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. Awesome. Well, let me scroll back, just make sure I got everything. Me and Graham going back and forth calling each other old farts back when I was a young lad. Charlotte talking about her broken iMac. I think we have covered the gamut of questions, Mr. Tarbox.
Okay, and I'll say one of the questions that GM asked was about German, and I've actually had conversations. There's and so this actually there actually is a tie, and that I spoke to some folks who work at a company that makes products for the Bundesliga, the German league, and they already
you're getting faint again.
Okay,
need you talking loud.
Sure. Okay, so they already have a product that they charge people for, but they don't really have an Alexa skill. And so I chatted with them, sadly for free. I try to charge them, but sadly for free, about how to write Alexa skills to do Bundesliga stuff. But yeah, German is different.
Awesome. Well, if you continuously give away your IP, Brian, how are you ever going to retire rich off of this? Indeed.
Well, I have actually recently switched from thinking about Alexa skills as a side gig to a hobby / branding, because here I am talking to all you fine folk.
Well, we certainly do appreciate it. And let me double check the tweetosphere to make sure that nobody hit me up with any questions out there. Nope, it looks like we're good.
All right, excellent. Well,
cool.
This was fun. Oh, what new message? Okay, there we go.
Definitely an interesting talk.
Okay. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Mr. Tarbox, thanks very much. It was wonderful having you on. For those of you who don't know, Brian runs the Boston AWS user group, and they have their meetings every other Thursday, twice a month. So if you want to come join us both there, we would love to hang out with you and chat with you on every alternating Thursday.
And let me do one more plug. One of the ways that someone like me actually could make money from Alexa is if a company out there wanted someone to write an Alexa skill for them. So like one of the things I toyed with is doing an Alexa skill for grocery store circulars. So you could say, Alexa, which grocery store has fish on sale this week? And getting them to pay. But so if anyone out there listening to this has a company whose user experience could be broadened by Alexa, and that should be all of them, and you have an idea, or even if you don't have an idea, contact me at briantarbox@gmail.com and we can work something out.
All right. That's how you're going to learn how to make money off of this. Awesome. All right, folks, have a wonderful evening. It was once again, you've spent another hour with us on vBrownBag. Have a great night.